Welcome to the Leadership Lounge, where real leaders spill the real tea. I'm Cindy Hook, and every week we're pulling back the curtain on the wins, the stumbles, and the wild ride to the top. From bold ideas to behind-the-scenes lessons, it's all here, unfiltered, inspiring, and full of real-world wisdom. So grab your coffee, get comfy, and let's dive in. Hello and welcome to the Leadership Lounge. I'm Cindy Hook, and this podcast is all about honest conversations, the kind where we trade polished speeches for real stories. Leadership, after all, isn't lived in press releases or LinkedIn posts, but in the messy, meaningful moments that defines us. Each episode will sit with leaders who've walked the walk, stumbled and stood up again, and see what we can learn about their journey. Today, I am so excited to share the mic with Christopher Kehn from KH Hospitality. How are you today, sir?
Good. How are you, Cindy? It's nice to see you again.
Yeah, it's wonderful to see you. Let's rewind a bit. What was your entry point into the industry, and how different was it from where you've landed today?
You know, I'm a second generation, I guess you would call it, hospitality man.
Mm-hmm.
My father was the general manager and the partner. He ended up buying the hotel, but he was at the Hawthorne Hotel in Salem, Massachusetts for 26 years.
Really?
So growing up, I had the hotel as I don't want to call it a playground, but it was a place that felt more like home than my actual home. And with my dad was definitely my mentor, who I got my style from. And he was, one of to this day, I don't know a better hospitality person than my father.
That's awesome.
So I just try to take, I've had a lot of mentors, but when it all comes back, it all leads to the roots that I got from my father.
I hear you. I would never have started my agency without my dad. He kept pushing me. He's like, why are you making someone else money? Make money for yourself. And that's how I started into owning my own business. And that was in 2013. So sometimes we need that push from our family, right?
Absolutely.
Was there a particular moment or turning point when you realized I've made it into leadership? And what did that feel like?
I was fortunate enough to have success at a very young age. And when I say that, I was involved in independent properties. I went that route. My beginning was I was in the Army. I was an officer. I had to go through ROTC. That's how I paid for college. When I got out of the Army, I went to work for a hotel management company in Washington, D.C. And that's where I got my leadership training, internships. I was a restaurant manager, an assistant food and beverage director, assistant manager for all large chain hotels. So I got the fundamental basics of the hotel industry from a brand perspective. And out of the clear blue, I didn't like Washington, D.C. I didn't like the traffic. I was an avid skier, and I got an opportunity to go manage a ski resort, a small ski lodge, an 88-room ski lodge in Big Sky, Montana. And the owner of the property needed a manager right away. He was a friend of my sister's, who was the director of sales and marketing at Big Sky. But this was an independent lodge, sat by itself, ski in, ski out. And he said, can you be here on Tuesday? And if you could just do it for 5 months during the high season, I'd be greatly appreciated, blah, blah, blah. And I ended up being in Big Sky for the next 8 years. And that was my introduction into independent properties.
Yeah.
And, my dad owned the Hawthorne Hotel in Salem, Massachusetts, which was an independent hotel. It was not, it
Yeah.
was still an independent hotel. And I found that I just had a passion for being able to run an independent property. But I had the background from the brand experience that I could bring into independent hotels, because there's no training book. You don't open page 6. All the policies and procedures, all the SOPs, you do from scratch. And that's where I got the Mountain Lodge at Big Sky, was where I developed an entrepreneurship attitude, and passion for hospitality. And I never went back. Never went back to, I would say, more the traditional hotel field. I stayed in independent resorts, and I've managed, some of the more well-known independent resorts in the country, and have had good success, great success I thought there was, nothing more I could learn, because I went from one property to the next with success after success. And then all of a sudden, a failure comes. And what I learned was, I learned more from that failure than I did from the successes. And today, 35 years later, I'm a much better manager than I was in my 20s and 30s and 40s. And I truly mean that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in fail forward, right? You learn from your failures. If you're not going to fail, then you're not going to learn, right? I mean, I'm a true believer. Yeah, I love that. In hindsight, what do you think people don't see about leadership from the outside?
I think that nowadays it's more, a lot of people don't see what I went through to get to where I am now. So it's not an easy road, and I put in tremendous hours for the success that I had, and to be able to do what I do today was because of hard work. And a lot of times people take a look at my resume and they see all these great places like Big Sky, Montana. I worked for a cruise line where I went everywhere on a cruise ship. I've worked in Daytona Beach, right on the beach. I've worked in Sarasota on the beach. I've worked in, just these great places. And that non-hospitality people take a look at that and think, boy, he's spoiled. Somehow, how do you get, the worst question I'm asked a lot is, how did you ever get all these great jobs? And the answer is hard work.
Yeah.
But I did have a strategy, and the strategy was, quality of life was very important to me. So I chose jobs and positions in places that I wanted to be, and then made it work with very hard work.
Yeah, it's all
So the
about
long hours and the drive and the passion for what I do. Sometimes today, I think it is something that you lose sight of.
Yeah, I would agree.
Mhm.
If you could go back, now you get your 25-year-old self, what brutally honest advice would it be?
Brutally honest advice is, a matter what you read, what is out there on the internet. Hard work overcomes. You have to have talent.
Yeah.
But honestly, I can almost train anything if
Mm-hmm.
the person has a great attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but on top of a great attitude, you have to have a great work ethic.
Yeah.
And I don't know many people who have made it in the hospitality industry for an extended period of time that weren't extremely hard workers
Yeah.
and put in the time, put in the energy. And I don't think there's a time that you can walk away from that and say, "Oh, well, now I'm 20 years into my profession and I have all these successes, so I can take my foot off the gas pedal."
Yeah.
Um, in this industry, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's hard work and it's long hours and it can be
Yeah.
very rewarding,
Yeah.
but it can also be very tiring. So if you don't love hospitality, I wouldn't get into it.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I've ever worked a day in my life because I've never had a situation where I woke up in the morning and said, I don't want to go to work.
Yeah.
I love what I do. Therefore, put it in the long hours. Um, I actually look forward to. I
Yeah.
can tell you there's nights where I couldn't sleep because I was so excited about going to work the next day.
Yeah.
And here I am still at the stage of my career. I love going to work. When I take 2 weeks off or 3 weeks off and I don't have a job and I've turned down a project, I'm itching to get back out there.
Yeah.
So the advice that I could give, hard work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Hard work. That's what it's going to take, especially in the hospitality space, right? I mean, it really is.
yeah.
What do you look for when you're hiring someone who's not just good on paper, but a true culture fit for your team?
You know, the first thing I'm looking for is attitude,
Mhm.
a great smile.
Mhm.
Um, I believe strongly in teaching training skills. Training at your property has to be consistent and it has to be continuous. Uh,
Mhm.
my personal philosophy is continuous improvement. I'll take continuous improvement over perfection any day because I think you and me know that perfection doesn't exist.
Mhm.
Um, Greatness does. I mean, your ability to have continuous improvement to chase greatness is what I am looking for. It's what I've done my whole career.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't believe in doing anything mediocre.
Yeah.
So if you're going to have seven entrees on your dinner menu in the hotel restaurant, make those 7 items great,
Yeah.
not mediocre. If it's going to be mediocre, hire somebody else to run the
Yeah.
restaurant. But anyways, that's my philosophy. Continuous improvement to get to greatness.
I love that. How do you personally define success today? As the definition has evolved over time, how do you personally define it for yourself?
Success today is being able to help others, uh,
Mhm.
and that can be that can be staff members, it can be owners. You know,
Mhm.
I work for a lot of owners that at this point in my career, most of the calls I get are desperate.
Mhm.
They've gone through a lot of different management companies. They're losing money and they're looking for somebody that can help them.
Yeah.
Um, and the landscape has changed a little bit in distressed properties. Distressed properties today can be a perfectly great property
Yeah.
that's just a little bit being mismanaged or has the wrong team or the wrong setup. Um, in the olden days, it was a lot easier. You could go into a property and do the fundamentals, A, B, answer your phone, do this,
Mhm.
and fix that property quickly.
Yeah.
today it really takes getting hands-on into the operation. So it's helping that I love seeing staff members given the tools that they never had before to do their job. Most of the time when I go into a distressed property, it's not the staff, it's not the owner, it's lack of knowledge, lack of policies and procedures, not having the right team together.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no, that is a perfectly good answer. My final question for you, Christopher. One book that changed how you think.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
One book that changed how you think.
You know, there's a book. I'm actually reading it right now. It's right over here. And I thought it was a great book. It's called Good Strategy, Bad Strategy. And the author on that, let me see. The author's Richard Remlott.
Okay.
And he's a master strategic person. In this book, Good Strategy, Bad Strategy. It goes beyond what I would call. There's a lot of good strategy out there. There's a lot of good plans, but if you don't back it up with execution, it doesn't matter how good it is. I've seen bad plans work with good execution, and I've seen great plans not work without execution. And that's what the book gets into. You need great strategy, but you also need great execution.
Yeah.
And I think that's a message that everybody should hear.
I love it. Well, folks, that wraps up today's episode of the Leadership Lounge. I hope you're leaving with a spark of inspiration and a few ideas worth carrying into your own journey. Be sure to follow us for more conversations and keep that energy going.